How you doing, man? Courtney Dillard. Listen, man, I'm running for Congress in the 4th District. I want you to be sure and vote on July 31st and vote for Courtney Dillard, okay? Here's my guard, man. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
All right. Listen, my name is Courtney Dillard, and I'm running for Congress here in the district. I just wanted to stop in for a minute and say hello to you, give you my card, and just make sure that you remember that on July 31st,
yes, sir.
I'd like to have your vote.
Yes, sir.
All right. Appreciate you. Very good.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another great edition of Real Talk with Rajheem, and I'm your host, Rajheem. And today, I got a surprise for you. Well, I thought I had a surprise. I'm going to be surprised. I'm going to be interviewing Courtney Dillard, who's running for Congress in Atlanta. How you doing, Courtney?
Man, I'm doing great today. So happy to be with you, and welcome to your show, man. I've been trying to get on your show for a long time.
Hey, man, well, you made it today. So we're going to go inside to the set. Come on in, Courtney, and we're going to talk about how Courtney is going to bring about change to Rockdale County,
Newton County,
Newton County, and Gwinnett County.
There you go, right there. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah. So, Mr. Dillard, tell us what you are all about.
Well, I'm all about making sure that families in our community are respected, making sure that the seniors are cared for, and making sure that the youth feel that people in our community care about them, that they care about their education, and making sure that we have a healthy quality of life, you know, throughout our community. And so, you know, I'm a family man, been married to my wonderful bride for 24 years and have 5 children and a couple of grandkids. So I think the world of our community here, and just want to do as much as I can to make sure the community continues to have the finest quality of life possible.
Okay. Once you're elected as congressman in the 4th Congressional District, what is the first thing that you're going to do?
Well, I think that's a good question. The first thing is making sure that we have the kind of governance in place. In other words, the congressional office is organized in a way that allows people to understand that they have access to the congressional office. A lot of the complaints that we've been getting in the 4th District here in Georgia is that people feel like that the incumbent is not representing all the people, that he's not in all the communities and speaking for all the people.
You're speaking about Congressman Hank Johnson.
That is the incumbent.
Okay.
And so we want to make sure that that changes, that people have a process that's open, transparent, and accessible. And so we want to make sure there's good governance. In other words, that the way that the decisions are made, not only from the public standpoint, the people's standpoint of view, but all the other public officials that are elected officials that are in office have a means of being able to voice their positions and their concerns that they're getting from their constituents in the community. You know, the commissioners, law enforcement officials, our school superintendency, the teachers, parents, and everyday citizens have a means of getting to our congressperson and helping them to make the decisions that are going to be necessary, that reflect the community that we live in.
Courtney, you sound like you're on a campaign trail there, and I'm liking it. I'm really enjoying that. One of the things that I want you to express to the people that's watching this is your open door policy and your procedures for people being able to get a hold of you. I mean, there are so many politicians that say, they offer you the world. You know, once I'm elected, I'm going to do this, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you milk and honey on Sunday, ice cream on Monday, on Tuesday I'm taking you out to for pizza. But once they get elected, then they can't be reached, they're unreachable. It's like there are gatekeepers in place to keep the constituents from getting a hold of them. What type of policy or open door policy are you going to put in place where I or whomever is in your constituency will be able to reach you?
Well, you know, one of the things, that's a good question, Rajheem, and one of the things that we've done during our campaign is to put my cell phone number on my my palm card, my marketing card for the campaign. I want people to know that they can get a hold of me. Now, that may not always be possible at a certain time, but what we've done since establishing our first card, you know, 6 months ago, is we began to set up a organization where people will have 3 or 4 people here on the ground in each one of the 4 counties. Now remember, we're running for an office that represents the 4th District, and today the 4th District includes Newton County, Rockdale County, DeKalb County, as well as Gwinnett, the southern area of Gwinnett County. That's Snellville and Lilburn. And we want to make sure that we have a facilitator in each one of those counties that can constantly give us fresh information on a week-to-week, day-by-day basis, so that as the new congressman, I can know exactly what's going on in each one of the counties. And that's not something that's being done now. It sounds like it's common knowledge, but it's not something that's being done. We want to make sure that Washington is always in the community.
Okay. And you also have an email address or website where people can look?
Do have an email address, dillardforcongress at gmail.com. We also have a very active Facebook where we're communicating with our constituents, our friends, and people in the community about where we are every day. I think it's good for them to know where we are. If they're paying us and making sure that we are the guy, I am the guy to represent them in Washington, D.C., then I think that they need to know what I'm doing every day. So our Facebook is for that reason. We're also tweeting, and we also have a website called, it's at www.CourtneyDillard.com. Like the name, CourtneyDillard. And all those help each and every one of the citizens, whether you're young or old, senior, male, female. It allows them to understand that at any given time, you can shoot me an email, you can message me on Facebook, or you can just call me on my cell phone.
And you run this Facebook, you answer this phone, you respond to people who send out questions on the website?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not just some hired person doing this.
It's me, man.
All right.
You know, if you call me, you're going to get me. If you text me, you're going to get me. Okay. And you know, and I try to make sure that you know, without nursing my phone like a baby in his bottle, I try to make sure that, you know, within 4 hours or so, as a range, you know, you can count on the fact that if you text me or shoot me a message in the morning, that right after lunch you'll be hearing from me.
Okay, all right. Hank Johnson, I think this is his third. This is his third time.
This is correct. Yeah.
Running for Congress, and what you are saying is that out of 3 terms that Hank Johnson has had the opportunity to show himself, you're saying that he has not shown himself approved.
Well, let's just be honest. There's a lot of people in Rockdale County that don't know their congressman. There's a lot of people in DeKalb County that don't know their congressman. We could go through each community and people don't really know, some don't know at all, the congressman's name. And so I don't think that that's necessarily the kind of person that we want to have in office. And beyond that, there are so many issues that I feel like are being hid. I think there's so many resources that are being hid from the people of the 4th District that it questions, you know, what are we really doing? We have a a person that says that they're willing to fight, deliver, and to win. My question is, what are you fighting? What are you winning? What are you delivering? See, today we have to understand that it's not about engaging in a fight. It's about how do you work together? How do you collaborate? How do you come together for the best interest of the citizens, for the country, working together to make things possible, to make opportunities possible? That's what we mean when we say America for a better way. There's a better way to do this. You don't have to always, have this emphasis on, fighting, delivering, and winning. What about
that's the American way, isn't it?
What about just working together to really bring the kind of resources that people need?
Okay, let's start.
When people are hungry, they're not wanting to fight. They want to eat. When people are being kicked out of their homes, they're not wanting to fight. They want a place to sleep. When people are deliberating over, this education system, they're not wanting someone that fights. They're wanting someone that can negotiate for them. When we're talking about one of the lowest education systems in America, people don't want someone that will fight. They want someone that will bring solutions to our community that will allow our children to go from a low level to a high standard.
That's a good point to stop at. Let's go into find a solution. Education.
Yes.
Over 470 jobs are being stricken in Metro Atlanta this year alone, from teachers, educators. Education is the catalyst, but it appears that police officers, school teachers, and people like that in essential positions, those positions are being cut. What are you going to do when you go to Washington, D.C. to make sure that these teachers' jobs are safe?
Well,
that these police officers' jobs are safe, and all of those frontline men and women who are responsible for shaping the value system, first of all, and maintaining the value system of our youth.
Well, I think the first thing is this. We have to make sure that teachers are valued. We have to make sure that, I always use this analogy, if there's $1 on the table and it's yours, and I only give you 20 cents of it, how do you feel about me?
That's the American way. That's absolutely what it is. But I understand, based on what you're saying, my understanding is that I'm being gypped out of some money.
Well, yes, you are.
Out of my money that's already mine.
Because essentially, there are a plethora of resources that are already on the table. Before we legislate for another $1, there are already resources on the table for the citizens of the 4th District that are not being allocated to the people. And so my position is this. Let's make sure that we go across each county, sit with each commissioner, commission chairman, and the commissioners, the city council people, and put together a simple list of the most necessary, the most required things that the citizens need that we don't have enough money for. And what we do, as your next congressman, what I will do is go into the Congressional Budget Office and find out what resources that we have that are not being allocated to our district but are going in other directions. Okay? And start to talk about, listen, we have to put a demand on these funds, on these economic dollars, so that we can begin to protect teachers' jobs, protect law enforcement so that our communities can continue to be safe, so that we can protect the jobs that are most necessary in our community. Simply what I'm saying is, we have to make sure that we understand what's available and where the need is. Bridge the gap, put it together, and then, if we don't have enough then we have a district-wide issue. But until we first understand what's available and what the need is, we're working in the dark. And I think that we can bring light to that kind of issue that makes the public officials, the elected officials in each one of our counties, as well as the citizens in our community, wake up, perk up, and begin to understand exactly where our communities stand and begin to work toward the solutions together. That's called a collaborative effort between everybody working together in our community to make sure all things are possible.
Okay. Well, you talked a while ago about, you know, what the Congressman Hank Johnson is not doing. You talked about what you plan to do.
Yes.
You talked about your open door policy and what you plan to put into place. A lot of people don't even know what, especially a lot of black people whom I've talked to, don't even know what a congressman's job is. What is his purpose? They think that it's somebody that sits in Washington, D.C. and gets a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, and give themselves a raise, a pay raise, an enormous pay raise every, you know, few years. Tell our viewers what a congressman's job is.
Well, that's a good question. And here's simply what a congressman does. Fundamentally, a congressman is responsible for upholding the Constitution of the United States and making laws, developing laws, and monitoring laws across the country. And it's just that simple. Now, there's a laundry list of things subsequent to that. But I think the most important part of what a congressman does is simply this: upholding the United States Constitution, making sure that they are making laws and monitoring laws, and then making sure that they are bringing good leadership to the district that they represent. People want to know, a lot of times people don't understand the legislative process of drafting and making laws and monitoring laws, but they do understand when they see a leader in the community and he's representing them. He's representing them because they see him in the schools. They see him in law enforcement meetings. They see him in the community.
I was about to go there.
Yeah, they want to see him. They want to see him there because we don't mandate that people know exactly everything the congressman does, but we should put a mandate on the fact that he's there for us at all times. He's there where we can see him, because you know it makes people feel comfortable when they can see you. You know, we're doing this show because people want to see what the next congressman is going to look like. And I thank you for having me on the show today to express my my insight about this office, because it's very important. Today, we are experiencing the worst Congress in American history. There are a plethora, many reasons why I'm running for office today, but the key is that I want to represent you, and I want you to have access in a way that allows you to feel like that you are a part of the United States Congress. So I welcome each and every family, each and every husband, wife, and especially the children in the community to call me up, talk to me, and make sure that you understand what your congressman does and that he's there for you every day.
My man, that was awesome. Was that a campaign speech? Why is it that blacks appear less likely to vote, according to what the statistics say?
Well, it's an education process. A lot of times, you know, we're only 50 years into having our voting rights, and you know, we can't take that for granted. A people that have only been voting for 50 years, it has not been, it says that, you know, it takes 25 years for something to become ingrained in the culture. Well, we have not been long since this attitude of empowering people to vote has become commonplace. There's still a large portion of our community that voting is something that only other people do. And so I think that we have to educate people year over year, month over month. I think that, you know, this voting process and the importance and the power of it needs to be something that we really focus in on in our school system.
Excellent question. Should voting be a right, or should it be a law?
Well, it's a right that
I mean,
was
it
adopted.
is a right, but should it be?
Yes, it is actually, it should be a right. It's something that it's the power to be able to choose not only the individual that you think should be representing you, but it's also the power to bring into office a person that represents the values that you represent. And so with every breath that we breathe, I believe that the right to vote should come along with that, should accompany that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, it seems that there are so many people who don't vote, and it's not just a racially specific thing.
Sure.
There are a lot of people who don't vote, period.
Sure.
Jehovah's Witnesses and other people who don't vote because they don't think that the government really does anything that they can benefit from. Although when they drive on the roadways, they still benefit from the government system. But I don't know. It's just an interesting question.
Well, Rajheem, you know, people, you know, if we could talk for an afternoon, we would talk about the difference that attention makes. You know, when we give people attention, people, their lives change. They believe that they're valued. And some people feel, there are people that feel that, you know, the government doesn't value them. And government is of the people. It is by the people. It is for the people. And if people don't feel like that, based upon the individual that's representing them, that person cares about them, and that person is representing the government, then what will they feel about the government?
Which brings
they
us
will
right.
feel like the government doesn't care about them.
True. Which brings us right back to people not voting.
Yeah.
Especially blacks, quote unquote, not voting, because a lot of the laws and legislation that comes out are culturally specific to appear to down the African American person. In other words, a lot of the laws that sag in pants and a lot of the things that affects African Americans with being pulled over and racially profiled. And I was a law enforcement officer once upon a time, and I was racially profiled by a white police officer, and I was in uniform. And it brought tears to my eyes. I mean, I literally stood in my office before my supervisor and before my chief, and I cried. Here I am, a young black man that has become a product of racial profiling in DeKalb County just a couple years ago. And so just for the regular Joe Blow or Ray Ray or Duke Maine or Maine, you know what I mean? Ray Ray, those guys in the community who are just trying to be themselves, being affected by laws or what appear to be laws that come down on them, make them say, you know, well, why should I buy into this whole government situation? Why should I vote? What are you doing for me? You know, so.
Well, you know, one of the greatest things about our president, Barack Obama, is his ability to communicate. And I say that because quite often, certain ideas tend to connect with certain ethnos or certain groupings of people as opposed to others. What should actually happen when like there's a profiling issue, and I'm familiar with the profiling issue as it relates to Georgia over the years, and have been profiled myself. Again, our leadership has to be the type of leader that can address the masses of people in a way that allows people to understand that I want to explain this to you. I want to take questions from you. That's the whole point of this social media. See, if we can move to where the community becomes more engaged and the leadership can become more vocal about certain laws, certain ideas that are affecting our community, it allows us to be able to work through these things together. But if our leadership does not, you know, what if Barack Obama only spoke in public every month, as opposed to speaking nearly every day? Not just during campaign season, but throughout the year, because he's come to understand the power of the spoken word and always making contact with you. And that's one of the things that our campaign will do. We will constantly stay in contact with the people, not just by, you know, sending out a blurb, but actually getting on camera and talking to people and letting them, you know, chime back in, blog us back in, text us back in, so that we can constantly keep a vibe, keep a feel on what's going on in the community. And you know, beyond all the political fray, all the stuff that's going on, you know, the legislative issues, the policies, all those things, these things that I'm talking about are fundamental values that have to be focused in on if we really want to be the kind of community that we can be and have the kind of quality of life that we should have. And that is very important to me. And I think that as people are listening, I think that it's very important to them.
Okay. What is your take on the president's reform for healthcare?
Well, first of all, the Supreme Court decision just came down just a few hours ago. And many of us are happy because many Americans that couldn't afford health care, didn't have health care, are now going to be basking in the fact that there's an opportunity for those particular citizens to not have to suffer any financial ruin, whether it's personally or in their household, simply because they got sick and couldn't afford to see a doctor. And you know, my wife is a physician here in the community, and there are a lot of people that, you know, probably 40 to 50% of the patients that she sees, you know, don't have health care, and she treats them anyway. So I mean, it's dear to me. You know, I grew up as a asthmatic. I had chronic asthma, and my mother and father had good health care, and I was always, you know, every Christmas I had allergic reactions to Christmas trees, so every holiday season I spend 7 days in the hospital just because it seemed like a routine. But the wonderful thing is that my mother and dad had health care insurance. And so I am a proponent, I'm an advocate of making sure that, that number one, that we continue on the course path with the president, and that this whole idea, this concept of repealing Obamacare is nonsense. We're always out on the campaign trail, no matter where it takes us, no matter whether it's rain or shine. Listen, everyone, I want you to vote on July 31st for Courtney Dillard for United States Congress. We're having a good time out here, meeting all of the families, all of the citizens, and you, the very most important constituent in the district. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind you again that my name is Courtney Dillard. I'd love to have your vote for United States Congress for the 4th Congressional District. That includes Newton County, Rockdale County, DeKalb County, and Gwinnett County. All of these are great counties in the great state of Georgia, and I'd like to be your congressman.